Hello, and welcome to the Drawhunter. I'm your charming host, Kevin Cleary, and this is the only football gambling podcast where we don't pick any winners. We hunt for the result that pays more than most of those win bets. We hunt for the draw, the most difficult wager to handicap in all of sports. But today we're doing something a little different. We are previewing the upcoming Premier League season with a rundown of all 20 teams competing in the Premier League this year. It's a team-by-team look at the Premier League heading into 2026-27, which kicks off August 21st and 22nd after being pushed back a week for the World Cup. It's a season with a joint record 8 new managers in the locker room. And one thing to flag before we get into all of this, transfer business is still very much ongoing. The window closes September 1st, so things can and probably will change as we go into the season. Let's start off with the best, at least from last year, and then we'll get on to the rest. Arsenal. Last year they were 26 wins, 7 draws, and 5 losses. They scored 71 goals. They allowed 27 goals for a differential of 44. They scored 85 points last year to win the league. They are defending champions after ending a 22-year wait last season, finishing on those 85 points. Mikel Arteta remains the league's longest-serving manager, and he isn't going anywhere after delivering that title. They've added Ecuadorian defender Piero Handicapper from Bayer Leverkusen for around £40 million, while trimming the edges by moving on Trossard, Kiwior, and Hein. Arsenal have completed the signing of Newcastle United's Bruno Guimaraes, bolstering their midfield options ahead of their Premier League title defense. What are their strengths this year? Well, they've got a squad depth built for a title defense, and they didn't need to rebuild. Their challenges this year? Handling being hunted rather than being the hunter, plus a City side clearly retooled to strike back. Next, we have Manchester City, who were in second place last season. They won 23 games. They had 9 draws and 6 losses. They scored 77 goals. They allowed 35 for a goal differential of minus 42. They scored 78 points for that second place finish. And runners up at 78 points in Pep's farewell season. Now we're in the post-Guardiola era, which begins now under Enzo, hired from Chelsea. City have added England midfielder Elliot Anderson from Nottingham Forest to a squad still built around Erling Haaland and Rodri. Silva, Stones, Nathan Akai have all left Man City in what is shaping up to be a summer of major change at Etihad Stadium. New manager Enzo Maresca will want to stamp his authority on the team after Pep Guardiola stepped down, and I think Elliot Anderson, signed from Nottingham Forest, looks like he will be the poster boy for the new era. Their strengths this year, well, they still have Haaland and Rodri, and Anderson adds a record fee statement of intent. Challenge? Well, first season without Pep in a decade. A genuine identity and adaptation question with an experienced core also aging out. Again, Stones, Bernardo, Akanji, all gone this year. We'll see what happens. Next up, we've got Manchester United. They won 20 games last year. They had 11 draws and 7 losses. They scored 69 goals. They allowed 50 goals scored, so they were in positive territory. They had a total of 71 points for third place under Michael Carrick, who took over in January of 26 and led an unlikely resurgence for Manchester United. I know all Premier League fans are going to be so happy if both City and United are playing well this season. It gives everyone somebody to hate. But United have been anticipating a rebuild of central midfield for a long time now. And after Casemiro left on a free transfer this summer with Tielemans and Santos arriving from Aston Villa and Chelsea, respectively, I think they will make up an entirely new Manchester United central midfield for 26-27. Their particular skill sets should complement each other fairly well, actually. Their strengths this year, they've got some continuity under Carrick after a strong finish. Bruno Fernandes broke the single-season assist record last year of 21. Challenges, well, proving last year's form wasn't just a new manager bounce. They lost Rasmus to Napoli, and they continue to have Marcus Rashford's future in the air. United reportedly value him around £40 million, so we will see what happens there. Next up, we have fourth place Aston Villa, who won 19 games with 8 draws and 11 losses. They scored 56 goals. They allowed 49 scored. They got, which brought them to 65 points and a fourth place finish that secures back-to-back Champions League football under Unai Emery, who stays on. Garnacho joined from Chelsea on a loan with an obligation to buy if certain criteria are met, directly replacing Morgan Rogers, who went in the other direction to Stamford Bridge in a separate deal. Strengths, well, they've got stability. I think that's their biggest strength this year. Emery is one of the league's longest tenured bosses right now, and they signed Brazilian midfielder João Gomes from Wolves. What's their challenge? Replacing the departed Tielemans and Malin, who went to Roma, while balancing Champions League and league commitments. Next, we have Liverpool. 5th place last year with 17 wins, 9 draws, and 12 losses. They scored 63 goals. They allowed 53 scored. They managed 60 points for that 5th place marking. But this, for Liverpool, we're looking at a genuine reset year, okay? Areola arrives from Bournemouth to replace Slot after a difficult title defense. Salah has left. Supporters will be delighted if Munoz, a FIFA World Cup winner with Spain this summer, who was signed from Osasuna, can have anywhere near the impact of the Egyptian at Anfield. What are their strengths? Well, they've got some new management energy. They brought in center-back Jacquet from Rennes to reshape the back line. Challenges? Well, they had some enormous outgoings. They lost Salah, Konate, Andy Robertson have all left. Replacing Salah's goal output and leadership is the single biggest question in the entire league this year. Center-back Jacquet is a direct replacement for Konate. And all of those teams that I've mentioned right now are going to be playing in the Champions League, those top 5 teams. Next, we have the 6th place teams that qualified for the Europa and Conference League, and then the chasing pack after them. But next up, 6th place was Bournemouth. And Bournemouth had 13 wins. They had 18 draws and 7 losses, and 6th place. Let me just say, 18 draws. The power of the draw can get you places, including 6th place and playing in Europe. Goals, they scored 58, they allowed 54, and they scored a total of 57 points for that 6th place finish, which is actually Bournemouth's best ever finish in the Premier League. It qualified them for the Europa League. Manager Marco Rose replaces Areola, arriving from the Bundesliga and the Champions League pedigree from Dortmund Leipzig. Striker Alvaro Rodriguez is the only other signing of the new Marco Rose era so far. The 22-year-old former Real Madrid player who scored 7 goals and provided 5 assists in 32 La Liga appearances for Elche last season will provide competition for Evanilson as Bournemouth prepare for their first ever European campaign. And congratulations to them for that achievement. Their strengths going into this season, well, they've got momentum. from an 18-match unbeaten run last year, and Semenyo's 17 goals. Their challenge, they've got a brutal opener away at Man City and then a run of games before facing Areola's Liverpool, a tough early stretch to marry European football with a new manager's ideas. Next, we have the shocking team at Sunderland. I was shocked anyway. 14 wins, 12 draws, 12 losses. They scored 42 goals. They gave up 48 goals, so they were -6 in the goal differential. 54 points. Quite frankly, a remarkable Europa League qualification under manager Lebris, who stays on. It's been a slow start to the window for Sunderland, whose one major transfer aligns with the club's policy when they were first promoted last season. Thomas Meunier, the hugely experienced 34-year-old right back, joins Xhaka as the senior member of the squad. Their strengths this year, well, they've got the best home form in the league last season, so they're going to look to try to replicate that. They overachieved expectations significantly. So their challenges, well, they lost some key names: Dan Neil, Bertrand Traore, Dennis Sirkin, all left with no major replacements confirmed yet, and sustaining their overperformance while juggling European nights this season is their biggest challenge. Next, we've got Brighton. They won 14 games last year. They drew 11, and they lost 13. They scored 52 goals. They allowed 46, so they're +6 on their goal differential. It all added up to 53 points. And they got some Conference League qualification under Fabian Herzler, who continues as manager. They have brought in Nigerian winger Johanna from Stockholm in Sweden, right back Kostina from Olympiacos, center back Svoboda from Italian Serie B champions Venezia, and Portland under-21 international Rodrigo Rego from Benfica. So they've been busy. More familiar to Premier League fans, Struijk has joined from Leeds United, while Brighton signed Tottenham Hotspur centre-back Luka Vuskovic, replacing Van Heck, who moved in the opposite direction. Their strengths, well, they signed a club record 46 million defender and 19-year-old Vuskovic from Tottenham, a statement of long-term planning. Weaknesses, well, challenges. They lost experienced figures Milner, who retired, and Webster. Their squad continuity is a challenge this year, and their Europa Conference demands, there's always a Brighton tightrope, isn't there? As we move into the mid-table finishes, we've got Brentford, who won 14 games. They drew 11. They lost 13. They scored 55 goals. They allowed 52. So they were just above water there for a total of 53 points. And a nice top of the mid-table finish for Keith Andrews, continuing after taking over in mid-2025. Brentford have already strengthened in multiple areas. They've got teenage center-back Schuster was signed from Red Bull Salzburg after impressing across 29 appearances in Austrian football last season. Brentford have also signed Burnley winger Jaden Anthony, following an impressive campaign in which he scored 8 goals and set up 2 more for the regulated Clarets. Former West Ham striker Callum Wilson has also joined on a free transfer. So their strengths, they've got Thiago's 22 goals last season that put him amongst the league's top scorers. Their challenges, well, Newcastle has been circling Brentford's attacking talent, and replacing any further departures without disrupting Andrews' first full season is their biggest challenge this year. Next, we have Chelsea as we move deeper into the mid-table. They won 14, they drew 10, and they lost 14. They scored 58 goals. They allowed 52 for a total of 52 points. Their mid-table finish, but a major managerial upgrade. New hire Xabi Alonso arrives after his Bayer Leverkusen title and a brief Real Madrid stint. It's been another busy summer window at Chelsea as they prepare for the Alonso era. Rodgers is the marquee signing from Villa, but he is far from the only player signed to Alonso's 3-4-2-1 system. He's joined by Quenda, who was notably converted into a wingback by the people at Sporting. Palestra, an exciting wingback arriving from Atalanta, and Lacroix, who excelled at Crystal Palace last season as the star of their back three. Strength, well, that's a statement signing in Morgan Rodgers. £117 million plus Quenda from Sporting. Alonso's track record of building a coherent system quickly, all strengths. Challenges? Integrating a squad that's still very young and had a turbulent managerial run recently. Plus, Cucurella left for Real Madrid. Next up, we've got Fulham. They won 15 games last year, drew 7, lost 16, scored 47 goals, gave up 51 goals for a total of 52 points. It was a mid-table finish, and they were very safe. But it's also a notable managerial gamble with Arbeloa, straight from coaching Real Madrid, takes his first Premier League job. Fulham's biggest signing this summer has been in the dugout because so far Alvaro Arbeloa, the former Liverpool defender and Real Madrid manager, has not added any new players as of when I wrote this last week. The 19-year-old forward Jonah Kusi Asare, who spent 25-26 on loan at Craven Cottage, has signed permanently from Bayern Munich. But that is not the only arrival. More likely to follow, given that Issa Diop was sold to Ipswich Town, while Harry Wilson and Jimenez both left on free transfers. Their challenge, well, no major reinforcements have been confirmed yet, and they lost Jimenez, as I said, to Wolves on a free. A rookie top-flight manager with a light squad refresh, that's kind of a real risk factor. Strength, well, the manager has a great pedigree. and he's got a settled squad, but will it be enough? Next up, we've got Newcastle United. They won 14 games. They drew 7. They lost 17 games. They scored 53 goals. They allowed 55. They got 49 points. They finished comfortably mid-table under Eddie Howe, who remains manager. Newcastle have been very active in the transfer market this summer, almost exclusively signing players to replace key members of the squad who have moved on this summer. So they're basically sticking their hole, trying to fill the holes that are poking in their boat. Tonali was sold to Spurs, prompting the signing of defensive midfielder Bamba from Monaco, a like-for-like replacement of tough tackling in the middle of the park. Anthony Gordon has joined Barcelona. In his place comes left winger Bazumana Toure, who contributed 14 goals and assists in 30 Bundesliga appearances for Hoffenheim last season. In goal, there are high expectations surrounding 20-year-old Ewan Jowen, although he is likely to be second choice behind Lucas Hornacek, who joined from Braga. There is also excitement surrounding 18-year-old Sean Stur, a central midfielder from Ajax, who is impressing many people in preseason. What's their challenge? Well, there's real concern that missing out on marquee targets in recent windows has stalled the ambitious growth phase under the club's ownership, and losing more of the aging core, with Bruno's future also uncertain, that would hollow out midfield experience. Strengths? Well, Eddie Howe and his stability and a still talented core give them a floor that most promoted from mid-table sides lack. Next, we have Everton. Everton won 11 games. They drew 14. They lost 13. Look at the power of the draws that kept them up. They scored 47 goals. They gave up 50. So they were underwater on their goals. They had a total of 49 points. Mid-table finish under the long-serving David Moyes, whom everybody loves. Everton moved swiftly to secure an important signing early on. The much sought-after Hayden Hackney was plucked from Middlesbrough after a breakout season in the Championship, saw the 24-year-old midfielder play a starring role in their promotion push. He replaces Idrissa Gueye, released at the end of his contract. Strengths, stability, and a defensive organization remain Moyes' hallmarks. Challenges, well, they've only had modest reinforcements on the signings slate so far. Roll from Freiburg, Tyreek George and midfielder Merlin Roll, both on loan at Everton in 25-26, made their moves permanent from Chelsea and Freiburg, respectively. Seamus Coleman's 17-year stay at Goodison Park came to an end in May after 374 Premier League appearances for the club. And that kind of leadership on the pitch and in the locker room is not easily replaced. So that's probably one of their biggest challenges this year. Next up, we've got Leeds United. They won 13 games, drew 10, lost 15 matches, scored 49 goals, allowed 56 goals, so they were underwater there. They got a total of 47 points last year. They stayed up as a newly promoted side last season under Daniel Farke, who continues. Leeds beat plenty of competition to pick up Harry Wilson on a free transfer, landing the Fulham star who scored 10 goals and assisted 7 more in the Premier League last season. Leeds also moved quickly to replace centre-back Struijk, who left for Brighton, by snapping up Tariq Muharmovic after a superb campaign at Sassuolo in Serie A last season. And I apologize if I mispronounced his name. The Bosnia and Herzegovina international has all the hallmarks of a top defender, and the more goals he scores, the more likely I will be to pronounce his name correctly going forward. Farke's promotion pedigree and a settled core, after survival are one of their biggest strengths this year, but their big challenge, well, we've got second season syndrome. Teams that survive by the skin of their teeth often struggle to kick on. Next, we've got Crystal Palace. Conference League winners last season. They won 11 games, drew 12, and lost 15 in the Premier League. They scored 41 goals. They allowed 51, so they were 10 underwater. They had a total of 45 points last year. They, via the cup route, did win the Conference League last year. And now with Pierre Sage replacing the outgoing boss, I think activity at Selhurst Park has been limited so far this summer. New head coach Pierre Sage has made one first-team signing with 27-year-old defender Oscar Mingueza, arriving from Celta Vigo. He replaces Lacroix, who was one of Glasner's most important defenders in the back three last season. Lacroix's move to Chelsea is a big blow to Palace's preparations, especially given new bosses Sage also uses a 3-4-3 system. Strength, well, we've got a trophy-winning core and European experience now, but a new manager betting in against a Europa League level fixture list right out of the gate, that's a challenge. Next, we have Nottingham Forest. They won 11, they drew 11, and they lost 16 matches. They scored 48 goals, they allowed 51, so they were 3 underwater. It all added up to 44 points for Nottingham Forest last year, and it was a genuinely chaotic year. They changed managers mid-season. Pereira came in during February, and now going into 26-27 under a fourth different voice in Oliver Glasner. Forest are usually more active than any other Premier League club, but things have been a lot quieter at the City Ground this summer, despite new head coach Glasner likely wanting to change the team's formation to his favored 3-4-3. Their biggest news has been the sale of star player Anderson to Man City, although Forest have moved swiftly swiftly to fill that gap. Xaver Schlager, arriving on a free, was vice captain at RB Leipzig and started all 4 games for Austria in the World Cup. Schlager has won 55 caps in total and won the Austrian Bundesliga 4 times with Red Bull Salzburg. Challenge? Well, this is the league's biggest managerial turmoil story. Okay, losing both senior goalkeepers, Ortega and Gunn, and veteran Willy Bolly compounds the instability. And Elliot Anderson's British record sale to City removes their best player off the board. But their strength, notice I did it reverse this time, Glasner has a strong European coaching resume. He won the Europa League with Eintracht Frankfurt, and Forest still have European football to aim for if they stabilize. Tottenham Hotspurs. They won 10 games. They drew 11. They lost 17. They scored 48 goals. They allowed 51. They were 3 goals underwater there. They squeaked out, and I do mean squeaked out, right up until the very last day, 41 points to stay up and avoid relegation. Tottenham survived on the final day of the season last year under Roberto De Zerbi, who was appointed in March of 26 last spring to steady the ship. He now gets a full preseason to get the team ready for a full season under his watchful gaze. Spurs have been exceptionally busy. The flurry of activity reflecting the new head coach's desire for a new direction. Tonali and Fernandez, bought from Newcastle and West Ham, respectively, provide the foundation for a whole new central midfield at Spurs. Further back, there is even greater change. Robertson, Senesi, Van Heck can all be considered major signings, the latter looking particularly important, having flourished under De Zerbi at Brighton. The experienced keeper Martin Dubravka has also joined after leaving Burnley. Strengths. Well, it's an aggressive rebuild. Tonali and Fernandez bought to overhaul the midfield. Jean-Paul Van Heck and free transfer additions Robertson and Senesi add proven Premier League experience that they need out on the pitch. Challenges. Well, De Zerbi needs to convert a squad overhaul into results quickly. Last season's brush with relegation showed how thin the margin for error is for this team. And I think most listeners know I'm a big Spurs fan, so I have hope for this season, but of course we all know it's the hope that kills you. We lost West Ham, Burnley, and Wolves in relegation to the Championship League last season, but that means we are adding 3 new teams to the Premier League this year. Coventry City was promoted from the Championship League. They won last year in the championship. They won 28 games. They drew 11. They lost 7. They scored 97 goals. They allowed 45 goals. That's a 52 goal differential. They scored a total of 95 points in the championship last season. It was an amazing accomplishment, and they are returning to the top flight after 25 years away. They are under the legendary Frank Lampard. A relatively quiet transfer window for Coventry was shaken into life with the capture of 22-year-old center back Amenda from Eintracht Frankfurt. Amenda played 24 Bundesliga matches last season and appeared 5 times in the UEFA Champions League, adding the kind of top-level experience all promoted clubs need at the back. He is joined by winger Lum Chona, who adds Premier League know-how from Burnley, while Frank Onyeka's loan from Brentford has been made permanent. Strengths, well, they won the Championship League outright. They added Swiss defender Amenda as a statement summer signing. I think the challenge is that, there's a step up in class, obviously. Promoted sides have generally struggled in recent Premier League seasons, and they open the season at Arsenal. So, welcome to the Premier League, Coventry City. Next up, we've got Ipswich Town. And I just love saying Ipswich Town. They're one of my favorite towns. They won 23 games. They drew 15. They lost 8. Again, this was in the Championship League. They scored 80 goals. They allowed 47. That's a goal difference of 33. They had 84 points in the championship, and they are now back up under new head coach Gary O'Neill, who replaces the promotion-winning boss. Winger Fatawu impressed at Leicester City despite their relegation to League One, and he arrives to much fanfare, as does striker Emerson, who becomes the first Brazilian to play for Ipswich. The 22-year-old scored 6 goals for Toulouse in Ligue 1 last season. However, the signing that has most caught the eye is Dazen Medea, the Japan international forward who scored at the World Cup following a stunning end to the campaign for Celtic. He scored a crucial goal in the final game of the SPL season, helping win the title from Hearts, and in the Scottish Cup final a week later. So that could be a very interesting signing for Ipswich Town. Strengths, well, they signed Fatawu and experienced striker Chuba Akpom from Ajax. So those are good moves, strengths on the strength sides. But on the challenges, well, got a new manager parachuted into a promoted squad, and that's a tough combination. Their opening fixtures are Palace, Liverpool, Manchester United, and Sunderland. And that is as hard a way to open a season as it is for any team, whether you're promoted or not. Lastly, we've got Hull City, who was promoted via the playoffs in the championship. They actually finished, I think it was 5th in the championship, and won the playoffs and leaped over a couple of other teams to make it into the Premier League. But last year, they won 21 games. They drew 10. They lost 15. They scored 70 goals. They allowed 66. It got them a total of 73 points. Under Sergej Jakovic, continuing from the promotion campaign, Hull have added experience to a squad that, confounding preseason expectations, I should say, by securing promotion last season, they needed some old hands. So goalkeeper Jack Butland has arrived to replace Ivor Pandur, who has joined the Rangers. And left-back veteran Matt Targett was also signed on a free transfer after leaving Newcastle. Their combined 251 Premier League appearances could prove invaluable for Hull City going forward. In the midfield, Morita may be new to English football, but he has 40 caps with Japan and won the Primeira Liga title at Sporting in Portugal in 23-24 and 24-25. So he knows how to win or be part of a winning team. Strengths, well, continuity of management is a rare advantage among the promoted trio. Challenges. Playoff winners historically have the hardest time of the 3 promoted sides, adjusting to Premier League physicality and quality. So we wish them luck. As I said earlier, the transfer window is still open until September 1st. So we may see more movement and roster changes yet for any and all of these teams that we've gone over. But as I said, everybody has some hope this year. There's a reason to think your team is going to succeed no matter who they are. And isn't that the miracle of the Premier League? That's it for this episode of The Drawhunter. I am still your charming host, Kevin Cleary. New episodes, and we'll be back to our regular schedule of new episodes and picking draws all season. New episodes drop twice a week in season, Mondays for the midweek action, Thursdays for the weekend slate. Once again, please subscribe, give us a like and a nice review for our show. You can do it at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you have any questions, comments, email us at drawhunterpodcast@gmail.com. From the entire Drawhunter team, thank you for listening. And remember, there's no stopping it. Draws happen. Gambling involves risk. Please gamble responsibly. This show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. No guarantees are made regarding results or financial gain. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. You must be of legal age to participate in gambling activities. Check your local laws and regulations before placing any bets. This podcast was made by humans, except no substitutes.